It is 6:02, and I'm going to call to order the January 28th, 2025 meeting of the Ann Arbor Independent Community Police Oversight Commission. I want to welcome everyone, and I'm going to ask Ms. Cummins to give us a roll call, please.
All right.
Before she even does that, she reminded me to remind everybody, the mics are on. So, all right,
what you say.
very good.
Thank you. Vice Chair Carter. I'm sorry.
Here.
Chair Carter.
Here.
Vice Chair Offman.
Present.
Commissioner Milgram.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Present.
Commissioner Francis.
Present.
Commissioner Manley.
Present.
Commissioner Cooper.
Present.
Commissioner Billups. Commissioner Liu. Commissioner Pipkins. City Council Harrison. City Council Janier. All right, we have quorum.
Very good. Thank you. Now I'm going to ask commissioners if you would please take a look at the agenda and take a look at the minutes from our last meeting. And if you've had a chance to do that, which you probably have, I'm going to ask a motion to approve the agenda for this evening's meeting. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda for our January meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And now I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes. The minutes of our last meeting.
Motion to approve.
I second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. So the agenda and minutes have been approved. Now it is time for public comment, and I'd like to state that anyone who would like to come before the commission with a complaint or tell us we're doing something right or whatever you'd like to say, this is the time to do it. Is there any public comment? Anyone wishes to make a statement or comment this evening? We have no one on the line? Very good. We're going to move right on. So the first thing we want to do is introduce our new commissioners. We are just so happy to have you both. Welcome to the commission. And I'm going to ask you, just starting with Commissioner Manley, just give us a brief introduction so we can get familiar with you.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm not sure.
You can put the mic down.
Now, can you hear me? Okay, my name is Patricia Manley, and I am an Ann Arborite. I was born and raised in Ann Arbor. I attended Jones Elementary School, Jones Elementary School, Tappan Junior High, but now it's Tappan Middle School, and Ann Arbor High, which is now Pioneer. So they've all changed names, but they're still the same, I guess. I attended Western Michigan University, and I graduated from there and started to teach. I started teaching at Huron High School, and while at Huron High School for like 31 years, I was a teacher, and then I was a counselor, and then I was an assistant principal, and then I left Huron and went to Thurston Elementary School where I was principal for 10 years. So I was in the district for 41 years. And then I took a break, and then I ran for school board in 2014, I think it was. Yeah, and so I was on the school board for 2 years. I'm retired now from everything.
Except the commission.
Except the commission. I'm glad to have this opportunity to be on this, and I hope that I can be a good addition.
We are so happy to have you. Thank you, Commissioner Manley. Commissioner Cooper.
Good evening, Commissioners, to the audience, Chief, and to the officers in your team. I just want to thank my fellow Commissioners. Thank you, Chair Carter and Vice Chair Othman, for allowing me to serve on this commission. Greatly appreciative of it. For everyone, my name is Aaron Cooper. I'm the Executive Director of Avalon Housing. My degree is in criminal justice from the University of Cincinnati. Unfortunately, I'm from Ohio. I know. Please don't hold that against me. My career background has been in what's known as low-income public housing. So I have 16 years of experience in affordable housing, public housing, in different avenues, different areas within the Midwest. I'm here now again at Avalon, and I'm very appreciative to be here in Ann Arbor in Washtenaw County. One interesting, I guess, fact is in 2016, I graduated from the Police Citizens Academy in Toledo, Ohio, which was a really, really good experience for me to experience that and understand, policing from a different standpoint than the criminal justice degree. So thank you.
Thank you very much and welcome, and we are so happy to have you here as well. Thank you. I'm going to just take some out of order for a minute, and I see Chief Anderson is here and some of his team are here. Would you like to say anything at all at this time, or you're certainly welcome? All right, thank you. Good to have you here. Okay, next is report from the chair. I have a few things. I am looking forward to working with everyone. We have a lot to do this year, and I think we have a lot of things on our agenda, and we'll be talking about that as the committees give their reports. But as I'm talking about committees, I'd like to know if everyone who is already on a committee is happy with their committee, or we can do new committee assignments for 2025. I'm happy with the way the committees are functioning, and I'd like the new commissioners, do we need help on the outreach committee?
Yes, we do. It's just me, so
Yeah,
we
that's
do
a
need help.
one-person committee so far. We got some help for policy, but we have the policy committee, we have the outreach committee, we have the training committee, we have the information managers, very important, so you don't have, the new commissioners, you don't have to let us know now. You can talk about it if you want to. Commissioner Francis is the chair of the outreach committee, and you might hear in her report today she's got some things coming up. Is there anyone else on the training committee?
I don't think so. I would love to have someone else on the training
On the
committee.
training committee. And hopefully we're going to get into some review of the police training this year. So, good. Let me know.
How soon should we let you know?
You can let me know now if you want. Or,
Well, I'm not sure. I almost need to see them. I know something about a few of them, but not all of them.
okay, we can talk. We can talk and you can decide. Okay. What we want to look at today, as you know, we are mandated to prepare and submit an annual report. I think that our annual report for 2023 was excellent. And I, again, thank Ms. Cummings for putting it together. Also, Kimberly Mortson, I think it is, who actually lays it out for us. She just does a wonderful job, so I've been in touch with her, and she's ready when we are. So hopefully we can have the report together by mid-February, get it all printed up. What you have, and I received, I asked Commissioner Francis for a paragraph about what the outreach committee has done. I know that Commissioner Milgram is getting me a paragraph about the policy committee. I'm confident that the chair of the information managers is going to get us something for his section of the report. What I want us to look at, I think in your pack you will see recommendations. If you would turn to that page, please. These are the recommendations that we made in our report from 2023. And I'd kind of like to go through them because I think we should report out what happened with our recommendations and whether any of them have been implemented. So the first recommendation, that the police department policies be amended to mandate that in traffic stops, the officer having approached a driver first identify him or herself and inform the driver of the reason for the stop before requesting a license or registration. And we listed a rationale for that. Now, it's my understanding, and Chief, again, you don't have to respond, but it's my understanding that the department is at least working on this. No, that's wrong.
Sorry.
Better than working. Okay, so that is already, is there a, what is that policy? Wasn't there a name you were thinking of for that?
I don't have a particular name, but I can get it for you and provide it to you. But it's under our driving and traffic.
Okay, thank you. So that policy we can report out has been implemented. Thank you.
It's under the general traffic stop policy.
I'm sorry?
General traffic stop policy.
General traffic stop policy. Thank you. Okay, number 2, it is recommended that the police department policies be amended to ensure that hate groups such as neo-Nazis and anti-government extremists are not part of the AAPD and are not involved in spreading hate speech through social media and otherwise. And we presented a rationale for that. I've spoken to council members on this and other folks. It seems to me that the thought is that the city policies are broad enough so that if there is anything, I think the language is that brings disrepute on the city or on the department, that can be grounds for termination. Is that correct, Policy Committee?
Speaking for the entire policy committee, yeah, I was just going to say that. I think we uncovered as many as 10 policies that, touch on that kind of scenario. There's nothing that specifically speaks of hate groups and not being allowed to be a member of one or to speak that way on public media or social media or otherwise. But yeah, I think generally speaking, it's covered.
So, can we respond that we believe that current city policies are enough to cover this? I think it's an important thing, times are changing. And we want to make sure who we're working with and who's working for us. So I will say that we think we can cover that one. Okay, thank you. And please jump in
Madam
at
Chair?
any point. Yes, Commissioner Green.
This is a good policy. My only question, when I see terminology like this, is what is a hate group and who defines what a hate group is? And it gets kind of murky, I think, unless we have a clear definition as to what a hate group is or who is a hate group.
Yeah. I more or less agree. Commissioner Milgram?
Well, I think, perhaps that's why there is no specific language in any of the policies, identifying hate groups. But, so I think just like most policies are subject to some, discretion and interpretation. If one of the, part of the command officers, felt that somebody was doing something was bringing disrepute upon the department, then, the policy clearly covers that. That's the way it stands now.
There might be a federal definition, or maybe a judicial definition. I just don't know. But, whenever I see things like this, that, because as I've heard before, one man's freedom fighter is another man's, what's the term?
Terrorist?
Right. So, so that definition becomes real important as to what is a hate group and who are hate groups. It's a good policy, but I think that some definitions need to be, some things need to be clarified if we're going to have that policy, that's all. That's all I'm suggesting.
I don't disagree at all with you, but I think where this comes up, it was reported that, I don't remember the city or the agency, but it was learned that the police officers were actually engaged in online communications and recruitment for, I think it was the Proud Boys or one of those people, I don't know what they're proud of, but one of those groups. And it was, so during the investigation, it was determined that this membership and what they were doing brought disrepute on the agency itself and on the city. And so this might be the way we're going to have to tackle it. I don't know, does anybody else have any input on this? I don't know of any definition of hate group. Okay, well, we're going to,
Okay.
with that caveat, we're going
Just a point.
We're going to leave it.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Number 3, it is recommended that police officers carry body-worn cameras anytime they are, they are on assignment or out in public, and all body-worn camera video be preserved until after ICPOC review is completed. We had, the department did do a presentation on body-worn cameras a couple meetings ago. Yeah. And because remember we had that complaint alleging that the Ann Arbor police were on Michigan's campus during the protests, and that they didn't have their cameras on. So the issue was, should they have had their cameras on? And I think what was explained to the commission was that they weren't actively participating in any arrests or anything like that, and so according to the current policies, they didn't necessarily have to have their cameras on unless they were involved in some way with the public. That's what I recall of that. Are we satisfied with that response to our recommendation?
I think the question I have is, do we have enough body-worn cameras to cover all the police officers on assignments, or just few? And there are incidents where you have a big gathering and lots of our officers are out in the field, like on football games or some other events. And I know there was an incident where there was an encounter, but there was no body-worn camera to evaluate, because the officer did not have that. They were coming out of the stadium, and they did not have that on, yet they were engaged in an incident. And I think having a body-worn camera would be a better way of looking at the incident in case there is a complaint about that. And for us, we will be more of unbiased when we review those incidents, and having a body-worn camera would be really something is source to make sure that either allegations are sustained or not. But I think if we don't have enough, we should have.
And again, I don't want, this is not a questioning you. I can get you all the information that we have talked about. We don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if you ever want to say anything, that's fine. So, okay, I can prepare a, Commissioner Phillips, did you have a comment?
I don't think every officer wears a body-worn camera, right? It's officers on patrol and other things. I don't think detectives or other people wear, so I think we need to be careful with the language as to who we're expecting to have a body-worn camera. And so maybe the chief or somebody can speak to who does wear the camera, because I don't think every, and if I remember that incident, and I might be remembering it wrong, it was an officer, somebody who was not in uniform or something. Is that correct?
No,
they were in uniform?
Yes.
And didn't have it?
Yes.
But is the requirement just for officers in uniform who have to wear the body-worn camera, or what is the reasoning behind that, Chief, please?
Thanks for asking, Madam Chair, and also Commissioner Bullops. All police officers in uniform and patrol have body-worn cameras. And we also have additional cameras for individuals that are placed in a position where they're in uniform and they need body-worn cameras. Of course, there are times if we have police officers that work in an undercover capacity, they're not going to have a body-worn camera. So we do have body-worn camera. Also, if I may, the Southern Poverty Law Center is something that you can look up. It's open source. It has a hate crime map, definitions of hate crimes in every state in America. And it tells you what hate crimes are out there, what they're doing, and how we're tracking them. So we're aware of the hate crimes. On the police department, when you're hired, we look at your background. And part of the background is to look at whether or not you were involved in any type of gang or hate crime. And additionally, we also look at your social media. So if you're communicating with a hate crime group through social media, we will capture that information. That information is funneled through our professional standards, also through our hiring process, and up to the police chief. And I will not hire someone that's been involved in a hate crime.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Commissioner
just
Green.
wondering, there might be a distinction between a hate crime and definition of a hate group. And the recommendation speaks to hate groups. So
Yes.
that's my only
That's a great
point.
distinction, Commissioner Green. And so, generally speaking, if you're in a hate group, you might often be committing hate crimes. And so, but you're right. Even if you're affiliated with a hate group, you do not fit the criterion to work at the Ann Arbor Police Department. And if we find out if someone is involved in a hate group, they will no longer be an Ann Arbor police officer.
Thank you. So I don't know if we're, one of the justices of the Supreme Court once said, I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. So this may be one of those things. I might not be able to define a hate group, but I know it when I see it. So, okay. Yes, please.
Yeah, just real quick, sorry, I want to make a note on that. I know, Chair Carter, you mentioned the city policy. We also have an interdepartmental policy 1212, which is personnel regulations. That kind of broadly speaks to officer conduct, whether that's on or off duty. Section F kind of broadly states that department employees shall conduct themselves in their private and professional lives in such a manner as to avoid bringing themselves or the department into disrepute. So that's kind of a catch-all.
Yeah.
Further down, it also, of course I'm going to lose it now, but it speaks to the employees basically socializing with anybody outside of the department that would do the same thing. So there's two separate sections in our internal personnel regulations policy that kind of directly mirror what you brought up as far as the city policy is concerned. So that would be a general catch-all. I just wanted to let you know that we do have something that kind of umbrellas that idea there.
Officer King,
Yes,
that was 12?
12, yep, personnel
okay.
regulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to move on to number 4. It is recommended that the police officers have access to phones that can record their conversations with the public. And at the very least, have phones at the police station that have recording capabilities. I think this recommendation came about because we had a couple of complaints that were filed. And the complaint was about what the police officer said, and we couldn't, there was no way to tell. So I don't know, I will check later with the department and see if there are phones that can record when someone calls in, because we have had a couple of complaints.
That's true. I think also it's another a source for us to, when we review the complaints, that is basically said on that he or she had said or not. And if there's no recording to the complainant, we are just going to rely on the evidence that the police is giving us, and it's one-sided kind of thing. So it's really hard sometimes to make a judgment based on all the information. Sometimes we concur with the police, sometimes we feel that it's inconclusive because of lack of either recording or body-worn camera videos.
Lieutenant Patterly?
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to speak on the topic of the phone recordings that we do have. So at the police department, the majority of calls that come in from the public are fielded at our front desk area. That area is either manned by cadets, officers, or command officers. All those lines are recorded along with the main duty command line that comes into the station. Beyond that, there's phone lines in every individual office, detective's office, things of that nature. Those are not all recorded. If there's something that's going to be discussed, there is always the option of moving to a phone line that is recorded, but most of the general calls that do come into the station come in through those front desk lines that are all recorded and accessible.
That are all recorded.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Recommendation number 5, extreme care be taken to ensure that all correct information is transmitted to the officers, particularly with regard to the address of incidents and calls for help. We had I think it was a lawsuit against the city where officers went to the wrong address. And the citizens who lived at that address were quite upset that they, at the presence of the police officers. So I'm just assuming that that is, I'll talk to the chief, but it makes sense that especially after that incident, that is taken care of. Stop me if you have anything to say on any of these. Number 6, it is recommended that all the findings and recommendations of the an AAPD investigation, including any disciplinary action taken by the department, should be completely available to ICPOC information managers without redaction unless such redaction is mandated by existing law. And we understand that identity of minors is going to be blurred on any kind of camera. Let me say, and I'm going to talk about this later, I'm really off into new and old business, but we've been working with the department on a redaction policy. We've been going back and forth. We just, I think you got today a copy of what the policy committee has drafted for the redaction policy. And let me say, so everybody knows where I'm coming from, I know that the chair of our policy committee doesn't even agree with me, and that's okay. I think ICPOC should have access to all police records. We're told that we have to abide by the Freedom of Information Act. The Freedom of Information Act says at its beginning that the purpose of the act is so that the activities of government can be available to the public. We're not the public. We are a commission that has been authorized by City Council, and I understand I've been told, well, Stephanie, even City Council has to abide by the Freedom of Information Act. I don't care. We are supposed to oversee the police department. How do you oversee what you can't see? So if something is not available to us, and I think the Freedom of Information Act is the floor. It says, government, you have to give this information out. But if the government wanted to say, hey, y'all come in and see everything, there's nothing in that act that prohibits the government from doing that. So, I know I've said that before, and I know other commissioners don't agree with me on that. So, right now, we're going back and forth in terms of what information can be redacted from reports that the information managers look at. And for our new commissioners, our information managers, all of us basically have it's not, you know, everybody's talking now about these, what do they call them, what is it? Do not, what?
Necessitate.
NDA. Confidentiality. All of us are bound by confidentiality, but the information managers even more so as they're looking at these reports. So this one, number 6, we're still working on it. We're still working on that. Okay, and hopefully we'll work something out. Number 7, it's recommended that the AAPD attempt to rebuild relationship with Ann Arbor Public Schools. And I know that, you know, Commissioner Manley, when I thought about you joining us, I said, she knows people in the public school administration. Maybe she can help us. Because as you know, after one of the shootings in some other location, we were sort of not welcome in the public schools. Even for career day, we were not welcome. And I sort of think that we want to grow our own in terms of encouraging Ann Arbor youth to take the training and join the Ann Arbor Police Department. So this one, I think we can say we're still working on for number 7. And finally, number 8, it is recommended that all officers undergo ongoing documented training in the areas of de-escalation, dealing with persons with disabilities, communication with the public, and cultural sensitivity to relate to our diverse population. On this one, our training committee hopefully will be up and running and get with the training officer at the PD, and we can, so I'll just put ongoing as well for this one. So thank you. Now I'm going to shift to Chief Anderson.
Oh, no, I can wait. I'll come up because you have a few more, unless you want me to come now.
You could come now and come later too.
Okay.
Yes, that was the last recommendation from our 2023 report.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to direct my staff to provide you some information to help you with your report. And then you vet it, and it can help you so you have information, because the information you have to glean from us, and we have to provide it to you. And so that can be a challenge from time to time. We're talking about rebuilding our relationship with the schools, and I want to make sure that I provide you some proofs with respect to what we're doing. We are rebuilding our relationship with the schools. In fact, the schools have asked us to actually start working with them more closely, which has been a really shock in terms of how things have taken place in the past. So I'll provide some information. One of the things that we're doing, not just with the schools, but we're talking about the students, is we have a new program called We Care. And so we're working with students. We'll provide you more information on that. But I just want to tell you what We Care is about. We had some people in the community come to the police department and ask us to reinstate this Scared Straight program that was started in 1978. And that information came by way of a few citizens that wanted us to do that. And they met with our community engagement officers because they wanted us to bring young people that are in school to the police department and maybe perhaps take them to the prisons and have our police officers talk to them about the things they shouldn't do. And we don't do that. That's not what we do. And so we started a We Care program, which was in deference to that. And we have a program that's coming up where we're bringing young people in, and we're going to talk to them and teach them about what we care about and what they care about. We will also carve their activity to civic events. Now, we haven't decided which ones we're going to work on yet, because we want to work with the schools as well as the students to get involved in voluntary activities, but we also want them to have some contact with the police officers so that they can see the police officers in a positive light. Many of the police officers that we've been talking to, we want them to be more engaged with the students in terms of activities, such as sports, whether it's playing a trombone and things of that nature. And the other thing that I think sometimes that is forgotten is our police officers have young people that are students as well. And so this year, for at least myself, what I'm dedicating time as the chief is to spend time with our police officers' kids and their sports activities. So I'll be going also with them to see their kids while they're out playing sports, while also talking to some of the other young people that are in school to talk to them about what they're doing as well. So this is just the start of what we're doing. We're starting a community policing academy where we'll be bringing other people in. There's a lot of community engagement items that we have on the agenda, but we will bring some of them to help you with some of these proofs. But we are slowly and carefully and professionally working to advance our relationship with the school by getting the right people to do it.
Thank you so much, Chief. I want to ask again, I know that you're doing a lot of community outreach. Mm-hmm. Would you have your office, whenever you have any kind of program out into the community, to at least let Ms. Cummings know, and she can pass that out to the commissioners, because I'm sure there's at least one commissioner. You know, when you had your program over the summer,
right?
I think there were like 5 commissioners who went to that. So we want to be engaged with you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, you've asked that before. We really do need to do a better job of that, and also creating a platform for where we'll have it. So we have a few events that are coming up, and we'll provide them to you. One thing that I think could be of interest, we're working on a date, is working with our downtown merchants, primarily because of some of the concerns that they have. But what's really important is not just the concerns, but what the police department's response to it is. When we have a downtown response team that'll be creating QR codes, those QR codes will allow people to contact them by way of those QR codes and get the police officers right out there, those beat officers. You were involved in our beat program. Now that community policing beat program is up and running. It'll allow for them to monitor things from time to time, carve out a response, and help the people in the community. So there are a lot of things that we're doing, and we need to get you involved with respect to coming to those community meetings. And those community meetings are not always favorable to the police. And we understand that because we want to hear some of those concerns. So when you come, you will hear it's not all favorable, but you'll hear our response.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Almost done with these recommendations. So the only new, and it's not really a new recommendation, is a serious incident response recommendation that sort of came up again last year. And I'd like to add that as a new recommendation in the 2024 report. I think you have that also. You might not have it in front of you, but we had it at the last meeting, which would ask the department to notify the chair of ICPOC if there's a serious incident, and that was defined as a shooting or something that puts someone in the hospital and so forth. And I did bring this up, and the response sort of was, well, if there's that serious incident, the Ann Arbor Police Department does not investigate it. It's usually done by like the state police. But I think the idea of that recommendation was not that the investigation immediately be conveyed, but that the fact of what happened be conveyed to ICPOC. And so I'm going to add that as a recommendation from 2024, and we'll work on it this year. Is there anyone else think of any other recommendations? And I know I had brought up the idea of us going back over the last 4 years, make sure we haven't dropped anything, and I'm going to bring that back up. But okay, Chief.
So I'm really glad you actually talked about the serious incident response, to critical response. And so I just want to create some clarity. I think that when you have an oversight commission and the police department has something happen, the police department has got to talk to the oversight commission. We really do. Even if something is wrong, we have to talk to you about it. We have to. That is an evidence-based practice that is done across the country. But here's a couple challenges that you have to know. In the Ann Arbor Police Department, our agency does not investigate their own officer-involved shootings or deaths. We don't. And so those investigations are done by the state police. When the state police comes in, they have jurisdiction over the investigation, and sometimes we have to work with them in terms of what we can release and how we talk about the incident. So that is unknown with respect to what we can put out, because if there's another agency in charge of the investigation, it's a challenge for us to start talking about that investigation. So those are the concerns that we have. But some of the serious incidents is where we have to define what a serious incident is. And then we had to define the parameters. And so we are working on that through a chief's directive, which is already in draft. But what I want you to know is that if we have a serious incident, as you probably know, as a police chief, there are going to be a lot of people contacting us. Many times it's major affiliations with the networks, TV, police, county prosecutors, the state police. There'll be many people. And so in that time, it's a relatively really busy time frame. And what happens is oftentimes in a serious incident, the first 3 or 4 days, you don't have accurate information. And a lot of people think we do, and you do not. You do not have accurate information. So if you put information out relatively quickly, it's going to be wrong, because you start learning more about what transpired. It takes us at least 3 to 4 or 5 days to really get accurate information. So we got to carve out a way to talk to you. And likely what I think will happen is we will get together initially and kind of give you an overview of what transpired, but we won't be able to give the specifics because we may not know all the specifics. So that's kind of what we'll have to do. But we do want to make sure we're transparent with you because you need to be able to talk to the community if the police officers or when the police officers are doing the right thing. And if something should happen where we need to make adjustments, you do need to know about it. So that is our plan, and we will get a timeline on that.
Thank you very much, and so we will include this as a recommendation. The point being, I think, not so much we want to know all about what's going on with the investigation, but as you state, when something happens,
right.
Joe Blow was shot on Main Street.
Right.
Well, within a few hours, it's also all kinds of stories are going to be about what happened. And so what this policy does, it would seem to me, it make it easier for the department. We've given a statement to ICPOC. Talk to ICPOC. They know at this point what we know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're really looking for with this. So thank you very much, and we'll be working on it with you.
Okay, you're welcome, Chair. Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, recommendation number 1.
From 2023? Yeah?
Yes. Is it my understanding that policy has been adopted? Was that what I heard?
It has been implemented, yes.
Which means that whenever someone is stopped by an officer in a patrol car, the first thing the officer does is identify himself or herself? Is that correct?
I think that's the policy, and it's not, as I understand it, it wasn't every time, but if it's a police chase or something where it's not practical. But yeah, go ahead, Chief. Thank you.
So the policy is such that when you're stopped, there's a couple things the officers is required to do. And I think as Madam Chair stated, there's a caveat. If there's an emergency, a person is involved in some heinous crime and we're stopping them, we're probably not going to go through the steps of, identifying themselves as a police officer and then giving the reason for the stop. But really it's set up for the police officer to identify themselves, tell them the nature of the stop. Those are the two components. And that recommendation, while it came through ICPOC, was also something that came through the driving equality ordinance as well. So we put that together in coordination of both. But it's really those two things. Hi, or good evening, I'm Officer Anderson, and I stopped you for this reason. Those are the two things that we want our officers to do.
So that is now the policy.
So the exception is when there's an emergency or?
Yes, the exception is when there's an emergency.
Or chase?
Yeah, or chase, or if you're chasing someone, you stop them, obviously, we wouldn't have the ability to just walk up to the car and then create that type of introduction. But there are very, very few instances when that should occur. It's just for our regular conversations with respect to traffic stops.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. And one other recommendation that I would like to add is that the city continue to work towards some kind of
unarmed response.
Thank you. Some kind of unarmed response. And I don't know, where that's going, but I'd like to suggest that we continue to look at. I don't know if it's going to be possible.
Right. Doesn't that depend on the situation?
Yeah, it absolutely depends on the situation. I was reading today, nationwide, this article says 64% of deadly police shootings across the country are from traffic stops and mental health emergencies.
Okay.
So that's a lot. And if they can, I don't know where it has been done successfully. And I know that Councilperson Harrison, is that still on council's agenda? Unarmed response, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Go right ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to clarify for Commissioner Green there, and I know Commissioner Milgram likes policy numbers themselves. And I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself the first time I came up. I'm Sergeant King. I'm with the Professional Standards Section. So Lieutenant Petterly is my immediate boss, outside the big boss here. But we do all the internal affairs stuff and have been working with the rest of ICPOC as well since I've been up here. So anyways, with that being said, our traffic stop policy, the general traffic stop policy that I mentioned before, that is policy 062-006, traffic stops. Under the first, actually I guess it's the third section under procedure, it's pretty clearly stated that all officers conducting traffic stops shall do so in a fair and professional manner. Correcting unsafe driving habits of violators can best be achieved by officers taking necessary enforcement action and communicating with traffic violators in a courteous and professional manner. It goes on to say, officers shall greet the motorist in a professional and courteous manner, identifying oneself by rank, name, and nature of the stop. An exception is if the circumstance of the stop is impractical, such as a felony stop or some sort of dynamic situation like that. Yes, sir.
So, in addition to the number,
Yep.
can you also perhaps tell me when that policy was last amended?
I can, and I was getting ready to because I thought you might ask that. That was last reviewed May 2nd of 2024. So that specific language has been the most recent policy update since May.
Yeah, okay, great.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what I plan to do, and again, we want to get this, our 2024 annual report out. I hope to get you a draft of at least the language, and we do have some nice pictures from last year that we'll incorporate, and Miss Kennedy did a great job with our graphs, and she's going to do it again. So hopefully, if I get you out the draft language next week, then we should be able to get everything finalized. Okay, any questions or input about the 2024 annual report?
I have a question.
Sure.
On all of these recommendations that have not already been implemented, are we to vote on them at some point, or what is the process?
Well, we voted on them, actually.
You already voted.
On the ones that were in the report from 2023.
That's this?
Yes, those are from 20.
Yes,
Okay.
those are from 2023, and so we're, in our 2024 report, we're going to report on what has happened, if anything, with those recommendations from 2023. And then we have the two new ones, unless somebody has another one that they want to bring up.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Green.
May I suggest one other recommendation, if it's not already a policy? If there's an obvious mental health crisis, that there's an automatic intervention of mental health
Professionals.
treatment personnel.
I think at one time the department, or maybe I'm thinking about the sheriff's department. What was the sheriff's department that works with community mental health? That's not us.
So the sheriff's office does have like a response team where they'll have a caseworker along with a deputy that comes out and responds to the mental health crisis in progress. One of the things that we've done in practice, just kind of informally, and I'll try to find a policy on that for you at some point later, but since I've been on the road, it was common knowledge that CMH is a readily available resource in the community here. So it's not uncommon, almost daily, I'd say, on mental health calls, just to get on the radio and request dispatch, contact CMH. And I'm pretty sure probably every officer out there working the road right now has the CMH crisis line programmed into their phone. So that's a resource that we use if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis. And we'll call and try to de-escalate and hold down a scene until those crisis response teams can come out and deal with those kind of mental health crisis incidents.
A follow-up on Commissioner Green's suggestion. I think recommendation 8, what we need to do is we need to add that to the recommendation 8 because it says that all officers undergo an ongoing documented training in areas of de-escalation, dealing with persons with disabilities. We'll add to that, and persons with mental health.
With obvious mental health issues, something like that? How do you want to?
I think we'll just work on that.
We'll work on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have,
Sorry.
may I ask a question also of both of you? So is there training now happening for the officers in dealing with mental health crises?
Training is happening today, and it is happening right now. We have put together a new policy on de-escalation. That training also deals with how we address individuals that are in crisis. So we are doing that training right now, and everyone in the police department is getting de-escalation training with respect to how we respond to people in mental distress. But we still need a lot more work and training. And so the other thing that I wanted to tell you is when we're looking at the types of responses that we have in terms of a person in mental distress, we often hear a co-response. There's also an alternative response. Our organization, led by our city administrator, is looking at each of those. An alternative response may not even be a police response at all. A co-response may mean that a police officer is responding with a practitioner to help assist a situation, but based on a set of criteria. Danger, violence, things of that nature, all of those things are being looked at. Our city administrator has been traveling abroad to make sure that he understands what we're doing and what we can do from agencies that have a track record with excellence. And so he has an entire team putting things together. We are working on it, but we want to have a really good model. Our city council expects us to have a good model, and so do the citizens. So we are moving in that direction.
Thank you, and we would appreciate the opportunity to sit in on some training sometime. We have a training committee.
Yes.
That,
So
Here I am.
This is where I have to be a little more direct. So when we design training, it has to be designed for the community and the police officers. When the training is specific to the police officers, we want them to be comfortable being able to discuss police issues and their concerns. And so that is very difficult for you to come inside their training because they won't be open. And then we can't get them to get the training. So that's kind of the slowdown. But we do need to provide training that we can do together. That's just the honest truth of the matter.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Somebody, Sergeant King, you have something else?
I was just going to give you the policy on that one, 041-003. 041-003.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. So that is the chair report, long report today. And we did old business by reviewing the 2023 annual report. And again, take a look at it. I know I'm sorry, I only brought one copy of the 2023 report for the new commissioners. So you can take a look at I can get you another one. Here, hand that to Commissioner Manley, please. We'll get you one. Okay. All right. So I understand there's no new business? Good. We're moving on to committee reports. Policy Committee.
Thank you, Chair Carter. I have just a brief update report. So as I've probably stated a few times, I had been a committee of one for a while, but Commissioner Liu joined my committee, she's not here tonight, unfortunately, and she's kind of lit a fire under us, and I've been, trying to get to sort of a place where we can do a comprehensive review, so that Sergeant King doesn't have to, come to my house and deliver news every week about policies. So we have gotten started on that. She's created a template, and we've split it up, and we're sort of going through it because there are a lot of them, and our goal is to go through all of them, and look for places, even typos. I'm assuming the department would like to see that, or just inconsistent language, but then also actual potential concerns. And so I'm not giving you any timeline on that yet, but we're moving forward on that, and Commissioner Liu is pretty dedicated to keeping me on task on this one. So more on that later. And then the other thing, and Chair Carter, of course, mentioned this, and we talked about it at our last meeting in November, that we have been doing a little back and forth on this redaction policy with the department, and they gave us their last revision, in November, and because we've kind of been on recess, so Chair Carter and I just got together this week and have made a response to that in the form of a new revision, which I think you just got in your packet today. I was hoping you'd get it earlier than that, so I'm not sure how much we can actually discuss it here in session. It's the one that's got draft written on each side of it. So, if you have anything to mention right now, we can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just if anybody has something to offer, you can you can just send me an email or call or talk to Commissioner Liu or to Chair Carter. We can't, do a discussion like that by email, as you know, due to the Open Meetings Act, but we can have some one-on-one discussions about that, and then maybe take it up next month. But I would like, we'd all like to have feedback from the entire commission on this before we provide a draft back. There is this issue of every time Chair Carter talks about this, she makes an even more compelling argument. I just don't know if it's a legally feasible one, but I'm not sure how I get past just the idea that, we're a creature of the City Council. The City Council is subject to FOIA, so I'm not sure how we can argue that we're not. But what you said just now, a little bit ago in session, is the most compelling case I've heard so far. So
Thank you.
Maybe you've got something going. So there's still a little push-pull on that, even in this latest draft. So we'll see where that goes, but I think we're making progress. We're trying, this one, we're just trying to streamline it, and still fighting for a little bit more transparency to the extent that we can get that.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's one of the recommendations. It's ongoing. We'll be working on it, the redaction policy. It's important. Training committee. Now, I know, Commissioner Haynes, you probably don't have any report on training. Maybe you do. But I'm also going to ask you had mentioned a program to me last year.
Yes. So first on the training.
Sure.
I appreciated, Chief Anderson, what you said about having persons sitting in on the police training when it is actually happening, and how that might stifle what the officers are actually hearing, well, not so much hearing, but being able to ask and really engaging. So I get that. But is there a way that you sent an email in December and outlined various training subjects that we could look at? And there are 2 or 3 that I would be interested in, wondering if we could just sit with you or sit with some of the officers and just talk about how the training, what is included in the training, how the training happens, so that we have a better idea of what the training is.
Absolutely. We can set up some time for you to come and talk about what the training, we can actually go over the training, but I think we should do more than that. I think that the team of you should come in and talk to our police officers and just engage in just a regular conversation about what we're doing in the community. I think that the police officers should hear from you. I think by sitting down and having a round table, and I don't call that training, but it is, but I call it just being real. Because the police officers need to just be able to have a conversation. And so that is somewhat a form of training as well. But to provide an overview of the training that we have, we can absolutely do that. We have everything in place, so all you got to do is let me know when we want it, when you need to do it. Right now, we're taking the entire department through the training, so, but we can do it. And there's one other thing I forgot to mention. Over the last, I've been here for about a year now, and we've revamped over 200 policies in the department. So we have really been changing a lot in the organization, and change is sometimes tough. But I will have to say that the police department and the police leadership is doing a really good job. But I would love for you all to come and just talk to the police department and come into it. We will bring you into our senior management team meeting. You can come in and you can talk to us about training anytime you want.
All we need is when, and we'll show up. Let me just share something that Commissioner Haynes shared with me. A couple years ago, some years ago, she was at a citizens, what did they call it?
It was a training, and I can't remember exactly what the name of it was, but it was a series of trainings that some of us that were on the task force were involved in. And this particular one, I was in a room with officers and potential officers, and they were showing a video. And I took exception to that video because there were 5 or 6 incidences that were shown. And the perpetrators were African American men. And the way in which the police officers responded to that incident bothered me greatly. So out of 5, 4 of them were African American men, 1 of them was a white male. And it was very obvious that they were treated different. My objection to it was, I sat in a room with 25 other people. I was one of 2 black people sitting there in this room. And I'm looking at all of these white men and women, looking at this video, and internalizing that black folks are the ones that commit crimes and white folks do not. That was what I took from it. So it said to me that if this was the training video that was used, and then when I questioned it, the response that I got was, this is the only videos that is out there, or this is the video that has been provided.
Yeah.
And I really took exception to that. I couldn't understand why that was such. So I sat in on a seminar with NACO in December, and this is what I had mentioned to you. And something very similar came up, and I asked that question, and I was told that there are all kinds of videos that are available to police departments. They simply need to ask for the ones that they want. But that the answer that I got, and granted this was 4 years ago now, 5 years ago, I'm making the assumption that things have changed and that there are different videos or different things that are used in training for police officers.
Yeah. I've been in law enforcement for 37 years. I've seen some of those videos myself many times, and didn't like what I saw. So I think the answer to that is that it is good for you to have an opportunity to see where we're providing training, because sometimes the police department, even though we try to do everything we can to make sure that we're providing the proper perspective to the community, sometimes we miss it. And there are times when police departments do it on purpose. I would hope that Ann Arbor's intentions are not to do that, and I haven't seen that. But when you have other people like yourself that can take a look at things, that's important. But here's something that I thought about as you said this, which resonated, is that you got in the room and you were in this space, and that's important. And I would imagine what I know about you with your temperament, even though it bothers you, you are likely to do a couple of things. One thing is to have the courage to tell people you didn't like what you saw, and that's what we need. The other thing is to be able to communicate that in a way that it can become salvageable for the employees, because that is training. Because bringing you into a setting where you can see things and talk to us about the issues we have are important. So here's my challenge. Because you have training, Commission. You have training. My challenge is that you identify some of the folks here on your team, and you decide when you want to come and sit down and we have a roundtable conversation about the things that you feel are impacting our community. And we have a conversation. But as part of that conversation, we have to allow for people to be open, because sometimes police officers may say things that could offend you because they may not understand, or they may not have the upbringing we have. And it's sometimes they're in a vulnerable situation. But what it does is it gives us the handles and opportunities to identify police officers that have concerns, and then we can work on their concerns in order to address them. We have to be able to be open. And so that is part of the reason why when we talked about bringing the police officers into some of our training, I talked to the police officers about race a lot. And it really takes time to get them comfortable to talk about race. But if they think they're going to talk about it, and in the community, and mainly the commission, is going to go out and communicate what they said to the general public, they won't do it. Because it'll have an impact on their career, their livelihood, and then carve out a response that is extremely negative to them. So we have to really do things in a very judicious, careful, but respectful way. And you have the right nucleus on this team because you care, you have experience to help carve our relationships, because the police officers do need to learn from you. So if you identify those folks, we're ready.
You know, our recommendation, the recommendation for training was in the areas of de-escalation, dealing with persons with disabilities, and we're going to add in mental health issues, communication with the public, and cultural sensitivity to relate to a diverse population. So those are really, and I don't want to speak for the committee, but that's what we're looking for to make sure that that's the kind of training that our officers are receiving.
Yes, I would agree with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Commissioner Haynes?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Outreach Committee.
Thank you very much. I just have a few things to cover tonight. Number one, please expect and be on the lookout for a few emails from me, or should they come from Ms. Cummings, or should?
No.
Okay, just be aware. So the first of which I'm going to send out is last year at our last meeting, I talked about, having more of a social media presence and doing profiles, brief profiles of each of us, so that the community could get to know the commissioners and everyone who works on the commission. So basically, I'm going to send you an email with a question for you to answer, broadly speaking, it's going to be, what is your why? Why are you here? Why are you serving? Anything about yourself that you feel like speaks to why you're on this commission. And then I'm also going to ask you to send me a headshot or a photo. It doesn't have to be a headshot. It could be you with your family, whatever you want to share more personally. And then each week, we will profile another commissioner. So if anyone feels uncomfortable with that in any way, just let me know and we can work something out. It's not a big deal if you're not comfortable, but hopefully you are, and I'm excited to learn more about all of you. So be on the lookout. Secondly, been doing some work to get the Jude Walton Social Justice Symposium together. You'll get an email on this. I wanted to kind of get my thoughts together before I started engaging everybody because I didn't want to waste your time. So right now I have reached out to Mallett's Creek to use their program room, which is a very nice large room. It fits, I believe, 90 people. And there's windows, and it's a nice setting, and it's on the other side of town from where we had our last public forum. And there's parking, and it's on the bus line. We don't have to have it there, but I wanted to get something on the books, get something reserved, and the price is right. Let's just put it that way. So if anybody has another suggestion or feels strongly about a place to hold the symposium, please let me know. Again, I will send out an email with some of this information. You guys can respond to it. I originally wanted April. I've pushed it to May because I have some travel for work in April, and I just want to be able to be present, especially in the final hours of organizing. And I'm going to be floating some ideas and some names of speakers, and I would like suggestions from all of you as well. Considering time-wise to work with roughly 4 speakers, 3 to 4, and then question and answer and discussion, panel discussion following individual presentations. Again, let me know if you have feedback. We've recently been contacted, after the last meeting, we were contacted by a reporter from, is it MLive? Was it MLive?
Yes, she was MLive.
From MLive, wanting to do a story on the symposium. I agreed. I also indicated that I would appreciate she reach out to other committee members or commission members to get input and quotes. And my main reason being, I kind of pitched this idea, and I'm outreach, so I'm organizing, but it's the commission's symposium. This is all of us, and ideally, we want this to long outlive any one of our commissions. So, just to kind of set the message that this is a commission-sponsored event, and we hope to have it every year. So, I'm waiting to hear back from the reporter, but you may be contacted by her as well. So if you feel up to giving a comment, please do. I think right now that's it. I would also say for you folks, the events that you have for community and community engagement, contact me if you feel like our outreach team could be helpful in any way, or if having a joint event at any point would help facilitate your outreach goals, especially with the schools. I think, that's something that I think we all want to see more involvement in. So, so that's it. Please, stay tuned, and I will be reaching out within the coming days. Thanks.
Good. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Commissioner Francis, has a date been set for May or not?
I've requested 3, just to book the rooms, and it's essentially whatever the first, second, and third Thursdays are of May. However, that's something I want to get feedback on availability within that month for everybody. And then I think we're far enough out that we could easily adjust with the library if need be. So I'll send, we could do a doodle poll or something just to get a vibe for what day of the week and then what week.
Good, thank you so much, and I do hope that at least one of our new commissioners will want to work along with, on this project and along on that committee.
Madam Chair? Just kind of curious. What type of things might be covered at the social justice symposium?
Great question. That's what I want some feedback on. However, some initial ideas that I've had for, when thinking about potential speakers, ideally folks from a diverse background of work. So possibly some folks in research, at the university, some folks who work in the community, in different, all sorts of different public-facing professions. I think, my initial thoughts on this, there's a part of me that leans towards, wow, it's such a crazy time in this country. There's so much to talk about. I don't know if it makes sense. I think I try to kind of follow, if it's named for Jude, she was a British citizen. She didn't vote. She just sort of acted towards decency and what made sense and what was the right thing to do and wasn't, stupid. So I kind of feel like I would love for this not to be a political symposium. I think in general, we can pose an overarching question that would be the theme, and then folks from different backgrounds address how they incorporate that theme into the work that they do and initiatives that they're currently working on. So ideally, I guess the way I was looking at it is, maybe somebody who works in housing, somebody who works with youth, somebody who works with older adults, different sectors of populations, vulnerable populations in our community, and tough issues. The idea of this is to talk about really hard conversations and hard topics that I think, from my perspective, it's really easy to kind of shy away from or say, you can't say that, don't say this, don't ask that. But I think that's when systems fail, because we're just not addressing the problems. And I think in a lot of cases, we have goals for each of these sectors that sometimes conflict with how we execute them, and those are the problems we need to solve rather than avoid. So I'm hoping we can kind of touch on some of the more gray areas and tricky stuff in a safe space to do so. But yeah, that's by and large what I had in mind. Right now, I'm sort of combing through the different conferences and national meetings for social justice and looking at their agendas and, what's the overarching theme of these meetings to get a sense for, okay, what could be a good organizing principle, and then talk to folks, in our community who might be addressing this issue head on. So yeah, and when I reach out, I'm gonna kind of list some topics that I've seen that are of interest. Maybe we can vote on them. Maybe you guys can provide other topics. But ideally, each individual presents their own work, a project they're working on, experiences that they've had on the job that have informed the way that they approach their work. And then afterwards, each speaker sits down together, and we would have a moderator ask a few questions more geared towards that main topic. And I was actually hoping that Chair Carter would moderate. Yeah. Thank you. Second. So that's sort of how I envision, and then open it up to the audience for questions for all the speakers. So, yeah, I'm looking for just a variety of people who are doing good, hard work in our community.
It sounds exciting. We do have a small budget. If there are stipends or something, that honorary or whatever, we can possibly work that out. Just
Wonderful.
throwing that out there, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, but now what we need to do, the idea came up at the last meeting, and we talked about it and thought it was a good idea. Now we need to vote on it. For those of you who may be new, Jude Walton was one of the initial members on ICPOC, very active, wonderful woman, and she was murdered a couple of years ago. And so we want to... We voted on it?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let me see, what did we say?
The first annual social justice.
Okay, said in April, which now we're gonna move it to May.
But that's still, it's already voted. It's happening.
Well, let me see what we voted on. First annual, okay.
And the annual symposium after former ICPOC commissioners.
Right, but then, the name wasn't voted on.
It was the first social justice symposium.
But it is going to be the Jude Walton
Social justice.
Social Justice Symposium.
It's like named the annual symposium after former ICPOC commissioners. So it is the Jude Walton Social Justice Symposium.
Okay, but we're gonna do it again anyway. And I'd like to go ahead and, see, at this point, I think May is good. We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
The original motion was for April. So, can I have a motion, please, to formally name the Jude Walton Annual, well, this would be the first annual, the Jude Walton Annual Social Justice.
Inaugural.
Inaugural.
Okay, but the name of it, this will be the inaugural, but the name of it is going to be the Jude Walton Social Justice Symposium,
I so move.
to be held
in
this
May.
year in May, and to authorize the Communications Committee to proceed with all necessary preparation.
I so move.
I second.
The outreach.
What did I say, Communications Outreach Committee?
That's me.
Okay, very good, thank you. So we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I could just ask, obviously as a representative of Avalon, that, obviously I'll be involved, but we engage our staff. It's very sensitive, obviously, to our staff. So I'm sure there may be members of staff that may want to at least be some sort of a part of it.
Very good, very good. We would appreciate that. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you to our outreach committee. Now, the information managers report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are a few things to report. One is we have this year many of the complaints that were delivered to us came through ICPOC. I think we have about probably 28 complaints, in addition to what the filing directly with the police department. Most of those complaints were reviewed. There are a few that still we need to work with the police department to come to a conclusion. and those will be probably happening in the coming few weeks. The other thing is what we need is probably update the form that we use for review, because it has been there for a number of years, and sometimes with the new information that we have, we might just streamline that to be an easy form to generate. And we don't have to, when we receive the information from the police department, we don't have to go through back and forth to their report and copy and paste. If we have them streamlined as the report from the police department, that would make it easier and also save some time when we review the complaints. And I will probably be working on the form, and I'll be presenting it next month for approval. And the other thing is I did assign some commissioners to do review, and for whatever reason, I did not see any of those reviews or reports generated. So I ended up doing most of the reviews myself. Does not mean that I am putting a bit of pressure on the commissioners, but
That's okay to put pressure.
it's a matter of to do it and do it really in time fashion. So I hope that in the future, this shortcomings from us to be fixed. The other thing is I'm working with the police department about renumbering the complaints, because now we have complaints that are coming to the police department, they have number, and we have the ones that are coming to us having a number. And we are just trying to work this out. Hopefully, when they implement the new system, the numbering will be a little bit easier, and they will have uniform. The only thing we have is the sequential. If we have 5 complaints or 10 complaints, etc., it's going to be placed in the log of the complaints, and there's one suffix to distinguish between whether or not the complaint came to PD or came to us. That's the only thing that will be different, but everything is going to be sequential. So this is something that we'll be working on in the coming few weeks whenever the system is available. And also would like to have all the investigative material. I know the police department had a change of personnel, and that delayed the receiving of the supportive materials for us to review. In spite of that, we managed to provide reports to the ones that were made available to us. So I think it's progress, but still there are some issues that we'll probably discuss in our small group meetings, because I think to discuss it in public is a little bit an overreach kind of thing. We would like to work it together, and then whenever agreements we reach will be conveyed and communicated to the community.
Okay.
So this is my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just by way of a background for the new commissioners, citizens can make a complaint either directly to ICPOC or to the police department, and then the police department sends it to ICPOC. So there's 2 different ways they can come in. And so we're trying to streamline. At one time, there was ICPOC numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's police numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what Vice Chair Hoffman is trying to do is streamline the whole thing, so it makes it easier for the information managers, and we encourage the information managers in their task to move right along. Yes, sir.
A couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
For you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
How many commissioners are information managers on your committee?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. That's good.
And we're limited by the
No wonder why
ordinance.
none of the rest of us have any members on our committees. You've got. No, but that's great. I mean, I think that sounds important, obviously, that you do have that many. But my other question is just that you mentioned 28 that are coming straight to ICPOC.
Correct.
Have you seen an increase in that? Because I think at first, folks didn't really know, and it was a slower trickle, and maybe the word's getting out. Is that true or not?
I think it's true. I think now we are receiving more.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it because of visibility? Is it because people are aware of our existence? Or Mrs. Cummings is doing a great job by, receiving all those from the public. So yes, there is a, I would say at least 50% increase in the number of complaints that were directly coming to ICPOC.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions for the information managers?
The one thing is, I think I probably would have Commissioner Green, there is, because you're a lawyer, there is one of the complaints I really would like you to review. It just came out not long ago. I can communicate that to you. And it's like 20 or so pages of documentation and lots of legal jargon that is there. And I feel that probably just to give us your reading of that.
Absolutely.
And I'll send that to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get to the city council update, Vice Chair Offman and myself are on the personnel committee. We do interviews if we have a vacancy. If there's anyone who would like to join us on that committee, please let me know. We'd be happy to have more people on that committee. And we're also looking to review and redo the questions that we ask at the interview for new commissioners. So hopefully we won't have to be looking for new commissioners anytime soon, but we need to update those questions. The last thing, hopefully, that I want to say is that Commissioner Haynes indicated she had watched one of the NACOL webinars, and it was very interesting. I think everybody gets the information from NACOL when they have their seminars, and that is the National Association of Oversight Organizations. And they're put on the calendar as soon as we get the date. They have a national conference once a year, and it should be in the fall. And last year, Councilperson Harrison and Commissioner Pipkins and myself attended. They're very good, and we need to always train ourselves. That's part of our duty, is to get our training in this area. So, is there any council update, Councilperson Harrison?
I can make one.
Okay.
So, not really much to update, but I can share a little bit about a couple of meetings that I've had. Not to put the chief on the spot, but he's really good at responding, so I will. So back in December, I met with Chief Anderson, and we were, and also Attorney Janeski. And the purpose of the meeting was to discuss the drive inequality ordinance. And basically, I let them know that I would be having some public, would be discussing the drive inequality ordinance soon publicly. And, one of the things that Chief Anderson shared was that he was, so there's two things. because I met with him yesterday, but also met with him in December. In December, he shared that he's working on creating a culture where they are confronting things and having difficult conversations. And so what I would like is for the chief to talk a little bit about that.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, but I'm not used to saying that, council member. You know, I think that creating a culture of just being kind of having accountability and being direct is perhaps maybe something that is just part of my style. Now, I'm going to say something you don't like. You know, I'm from Philadelphia. Should I say any more? All right, I'm not going to say it no more. I had to throw that out there. Pretty happy right now.
Go Lions.
But you're right, council member. Actually, I provided some training as part of our promotional process for first having employees that are stepping into leadership to start talking about culture. So that's part of the process. We've had one that we've entertained here recently that I have to put out to our employees from employees that are inside the department that specifically talked about culture, specifically talked about accountability. I had to read information about accountability, and also we talk about the driving equality ordinance. And so leaders now have to speak specifically about their cultural competency. The ability to have these real conversations with our employees is something that I started some time ago. We talk about race. We talk about the historical impact of some of the decisions that the police departments nationally have had on people of color. We also speak about some of the things that we've seen historically where police officers have had a positive impact on people of color. There is a balance. We do have great police officers that have done great things. Here recently, what we've done is we've carved out a relationship where we're identifying employees that need help. We talk to them about the things that they feel are important about policing, protecting life, addressing crime, responding to the community members that tell them that there's concerns in their community. But at the same time, we also are having conversations with those employees about the harm with respect to some of the things they're doing. An example is, if you stop 20 people and you find one person that perhaps has a crime, you have done something to address the crime for that one person. And obviously it's our job to address crime. But you have 19 other people that are stopped, which over time has a negative impact on the police department. And so getting our police officers to be more specific, identifying issues at the core of what they're addressing, and being more courteous, respectful in their encounters is where we're confronting issues. And Councilmember, it starts at the top with speaking to my leaders, my deputy chiefs, my commanders, my lieutenants. They all are in meetings where we're consistently talking about the impact of race and what it does to deteriorate relationships in our community. And I can tell you that initially it was tough. It was tough. Tough because the employees don't know me. Tough because it's just a tough conversation. But I am finding that as the employees feel more comfortable, they're actually starting to make adjustments. Some of it because people don't have frequency of interaction with people of color. They just haven't been around them. They don't have an angst against them. They just don't know. The only contact that some people have had is when they're stopping a person, or perhaps they're arresting a person. May not have even gone to school with people of color. And so getting our police officers to engage in those conversations, and now hopefully getting them more out in the community, I think is carving a big change. As far as our driving equality statistics, we've had some challenges, primarily not necessarily for the police department, but because we haven't really honestly had a database system that allows for us to properly track the information by way of a records management system. We're looking at ways in order to provide a records management system that can provide that data. We're working with a records management system that was started in 1968 and has been around for some time, but quite frankly, we need to get something better. We're working on that. But we have some experts in our department that can glean some of the information. And as we met with Councilmember Harrison yesterday, I gave one of my deputy chiefs an assignment with respect to things that he needed to do to get the information our council member needs. Today I saw part of it. I gave my deputy chief probably, I think, a 3 to 4 week window so they would have time to do it. The deputy chief told me he would have it done in 1 week. That is a real change in the culture of the police department. The deputy chief is committed to making sure, and I'll say it, who it is, Deputy Chief Forsberg, committed to making sure that he's moving items forward. And that's because of the change in culture and being able to talk specifically to him about where we need to go. So we hope, I haven't seen all the data, but I saw a lot of it today. We hope that the data is trending in the right direction, but I believe it is. So that's where we're at. Sorry, I know that was a long answer.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. And I also want to say thank you to Deputy Chief Forsberg for, just like you said, you gave him a few weeks and he said he would have it done in a week. So I appreciate his enthusiasm for getting that information to you so that it can come to me, and just for his willingness to be expedient on getting it done. So if you could let him know that I appreciate that. It means a lot.
I will, and if I can just say this about what we're doing with the driving equality ordinance, I believe the entire organization it was rocky in the beginning. There was some concerns. There were some concerns with respect to what it does to policing and what it takes away from our ability to perform our role. And that's normal in policing. That's not just an Ann Arbor issue. That is normal for police officers. But now I'm seeing a lot of police officers understanding the direction we need to go. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that you brought this to our attention, and you all, and I appreciate that, because coming in as a new chief, it makes my job a lot easier from a personal perspective. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before you go, you've done a lot of up and back. You've got your steps in today. I've said this before, I think, but I just want to say again how impressed I am and how thankful I am of your willingness to just extemporaneously, discuss these issues as they come up here in a public forum. So I think it means a lot, and it says a lot, and I, for one, appreciate it. So thanks.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Can I add a comment?
Okay.
Commissioner?
Sure.
I also want to say, I really understand that Chief Anderson is a very busy person, but I really appreciate your presence at this meeting, at these meetings. It makes a difference in the tone and the informational level as well. So, thank you so much again.
I appreciate it. I appreciate having an opportunity to see you at the church, too. So
thank you.
Preach a good sermon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
And you have the appreciation of the commission for all that you're doing with us, all the cooperation we've received from you over the last year, and what we expect we will continue to to have a good relationship with you and the department. Thank you. That's what we're here for. That's part of our mission. Okay, I think, let me see, do we have any communication? I'm sorry, that's it?
That was all.
Thank you.
I have more next time, but that was good.
Okay. Any communications? Okay, thank you. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order, as I used to say? No? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Help yourself.